Yeah, welcome back to Sunrise Today. As you've seen there, we've got Captain Bish Johnson here with us in the studios. He's former U.S. Army personnel and now is national security and defense strategist. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning.
Well, still following up on that U.S. strike in Sokoto. So, yes, of course, then some of the narratives coming through from there is that certain persons, casualties, which is expected in that kind of scenario. But then there are those who also think, look, there's definitely a lot more to that strike than the authorities have let out at the moment. For instance, the motive, what is in it? So I did ask the minister, what is in it for the state? But let's get your general impression, first of all, about that strike. What did you make of it?
Well, I think for me, the strike was expected because when Donald Trump made that comment, you know, Donald Trump does not want to be seen as a president who is weak. You saw that in Syria when Assad used biological weapon and he had to take action. As I guessed, Barack Obama not taking action, and he's also a politician, so he has to also pad that to his base, particularly the evangelical Christians that propelled him to office in 2016 and 2024. So when he made that comment, on various networks, I told Nigerians to take it seriously because he's a man of ego. So even if there was no need for him to take action, but because of all these factors, he has to be seen to be doing something. So
yeah, but could he have done anything if Nigeria did not, quote unquote, cooperate with them?
He could have.
How?
Well, you see what is going on in the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific.
Isn't that different to our own case?
You may not necessarily. It's still the same international laws that is being talked about here. This is a different kind of administration, quite different from Donald Trump 1.0 in 2016, when he had all these bureaucrats and the professionals that surrounded him and were advising him on some of all these international laws and norms. It's quite different from this Trump 2.0, where he has all these kind of people, some of whom do not have, diplomatic, military, foreign affairs experiences. So they are doing things off the cuff. Let's shoot first and then we ask questions later. And that is what you see going on in that in the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific. So I wouldn't be surprised that similar thing could have also happened in Nigeria if Nigeria did not cooperate with him.
Why Sokoto, though? That's one of the biggest questions. Why do you think Sokoto was the place targeted?
Well, I can't tell you why they targeted Sokoto, but one thing I can tell you is that the military that I served for over a decade is not a military that operates without intelligence. All of our activities are intelligence-driven. And so I will, based on my experience, say that Sokoto might have been targeted because there were some intelligence that led to that. From the video that was released by the State Department of Defense, now Department of War, I saw the platform where those missiles were launched. And to me, it looked to me like what we call Alibok class guided missile destroyer that carries up anywhere between 300 to 330 sailors, depending on the mission, right? And the projectile that was fired seemed to me like it was a Tomahawk missile, which is about $1.3 million, between $1.3 million to $1.8 million. So I don't think that Donald Trump or the United States taxpayers will just want to come there and just waste that kind of money. And from my understanding, I believe there were about a dozen of those missiles that were fired.
So does a ship?
The ship is Alibok class guided missile destroyer, DDG.
Okay. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because a lot of people have been talking about, how much insecurity we're dealing with. We just saw in Zamfara State, 7 people killed on Saturday. There was this explosion along the Magami, Dansandao Highway in Maru local government area of Zamfara State. So when we're looking at insecurity in Nigeria, for some reason, we've focused on the places where a lot of these things happen. Zamfara being a hotspot, Borno, but not Sokoto, But you of course, you've alluded to a lot of things that people have been saying online as well, which is that there's intelligence, that there might be something going on over there. when it comes to this particular strike, another question people have is how many casualties? Who was killed? You know, where are the people who are the casualties of this particular strike and things like that? Is that something that we shouldn't know? Is that also part of the intelligence that should be kept away from us?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, no war has ever been won without public support. You cannot win any conflict if you don't have the support of the citizens. And one of the ways of winning the support of the citizens is to be transparent and open in your dealings. I also agree with you. It's been enough days that had passed, and there had not been any after-barrel assessment report. The citizens need to know what was being targeted, who was there, and to what extent was that strike impactful. Because it doesn't make any sense that you just waste all this money, fire all those projectiles. At the end of the day, there were no impact.
So our government should be telling us that. Or who should be saying that?
Since it was a collaborative effort, we expect the report to come. I personally expect the report to come from both the U.S. and the Nigerian government. I don't know what asset the U.S. has on ground. I am thinking that maybe they are relying on over-the-horizon intelligence gathering and assessment.
No, the minister said that the Nigerian government gave them the intelligence.
I agree. I'm also thinking that they should also be relying on Nigerian, since it was a collaborative effort, that they also be relying on Nigerian assets on ground to update them with what has taken place at the targeted points. But knowing the U.S. that I know and the military that I know, that's why we say, you know, you have to trust, but also verify. So I doubt to what extent the U.S.
When the Nigerian government, when we have, it's not the first time that we're striking targets in Nigeria now. Over at least from the Ministry of Defense and from DHQ, every time there's even before we even know, first thing in the morning, you see airstrike kills so and so person,
exactly.
so and so. So they've been giving us this information. Why is this one different?
That is the question that everybody is asking. I'm also asking the same question. So I am thinking that it is the right time now. I gave them a pass because, you know, you had, it takes anywhere between 72 hours for you to be able to do those barrel assessment, barrel damage assessment, and be able to release the result. It's a war zone, if you may take it like that. It's not a jamboree for people to walk in and walk out. So you take a bit of time to go in there and do the assessment and issue the report. So I think it's enough time for that to have taken place.
Ayo has a few questions for you. Go ahead, Ayo.
Well, thank you, Kayla. Let's begin here, Captain. The fact that this is not the first time Nigeria is asking for support from foreign nationals, including the United States of America. How significant is that? Because there are some Nigerians who are wondering, is it that Nigeria cannot take care of its own challenges? After all, Nigeria intervened in our West African nation's issue at the request of that nation to intervene to ensure that, you know, a coup did not succeed. So if Nigeria had that capacity, how come Nigeria couldn't take care of itself? Or do you think it is something that is normal, you know, in the world for one country to ask, you know, for help from others for whatever good reason?
Well, there is nothing unusual asking for help from, you know, from your strategic partners. And let me say this. This is not the first time Nigeria and the U.S. has been collaborating, especially militarily. While I was in service, I do see some Nigerian military personnel come to several U.S. bases to train. You know, you can, of course, always identify a Nigeria by the name on the name tag on their uniforms. And so, and the U.S. has equally invested a lot of money in our security. So this is not the first time they are collaborating. However, this is a different time because of the statement that was made by Donald Trump. Well, but let me say this. No country exists in isolation. And militarily, every country do seek for one help or the other. You saw after 9/11 how George Bush was able to put together what he called coalition of the willing, which were some members of NATO countries coming to the aid of to join the United States to confront what George Bush then described as axis of evil. And so it's not unusual. Nigeria can't fight this alone. The U.S. does not fight its own fight alone. You will always have to cooperate with your strategic partners, either in terms of intelligence sharing or sometimes boots on the ground. So there's nothing unusual about that.
Well, how about the conflict of narratives, so to speak, from the two countries? Just as you said, it was the U.S. president that, you know, made that statement that we're going to come into Nigeria guns a-blazing to defend Christians who are being killed incessantly. And then, of course, you know, with the cooperation of the Nigerian government and all, what has happened on Christmas Day, and here we are talking about it. So, on the one hand, the Nigerian government is saying this is just purely security intervention. The other side is also saying, well, they cooperated with us, or we collaborated with them, but our own objective is to take out those who are killing Christians. In a time when a good number of Nigerians are having doubts, you know, the trust quotient between Nigerians and the Nigerian government is at quite a significant low. How significant is that conflict of narratives, so to speak?
Well, personally, I don't see any conflict of narrative between the U.S. and Nigeria in this particular instance. And the reason why I say this is because a lot of people are looking up to Donald Trump and, you know, what Donald Trump says. No, you don't look up to what Donald Trump says. Donald Trump is a politician. He's not a military professional or diplomatic professional. And Donald Trump has some local base. It's evangelical Christians that propelled him to power that he must satisfy. He wants to show them that, look, I told you I'm going to fight for Christianity anywhere in the world. I have started. I have gone to Nigeria. I told you I'll go to Nigeria. I've gone to Nigeria. I gave them Christmas gift. Everybody knows how Donald Trump talks. And so you shouldn't take that Donald Trump post or comment seriously. The people you must take that comment seriously is AFRICOM, the command that actually carried out this operation. They are the professionals. You saw their own statement that was released. That statement that was released was consistent with the statement that was released by Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Defense Headquarters. So these are the professionals, and these are the people that we must look up to, not Donald Trump, who is a politician and who must pander to his base.
One last question from me, Captain. Civilian communities remain vulnerable to insecurity, and they're usually caught between militant and military action. So how do we measure this? You said something important the other time, that no such campaign can be successful without the cooperation of the population, of the people. But the people are the ones that also, at the end of the day, sometimes suffer the consequences of all these things, especially when they are used as the shield, the human shield, against such attacks as we have seen. So how do we manage that such that the communities can see and trust government intervention over and above the fear of reprisals from militants?
Well, one thing I tell you is that they say if you remove a tick from a dog, you have to show the dog so that he knows that, look, a tick has been removed from his body. Well, the government has to be, they have to be transparent. We have to be able to manage our public communication much better, you know, with the people. You have to speak to the people in the language that they understand. Because at the end of the day, whatever operation that is being carried out for the people and on behalf of the people. And so you said that they are on the receiving end. Of course, they are on the receiving end. And so that is why they must always be carried along. And like I alluded to before, I've said that no campaign is ever won without the support of the public, the population. We saw that when we were in Iraq. You know, we only started winning when we were in Iraq, when we started engaging the Iraqi populations. They are the ones who provided us with human intelligence. I understand we have this highly sophisticated vast of intelligence collection apparatus, you know, but at the end of the day, the most reliable human intelligence is that one that is provided by humans. These are usually provided by the assets that are on ground. And that is why it is very important that whatever you do, you don't alienate the population that is involved. If you do that, you're going to lose at the end of the day.
You know, when the government said that we provided the U.S. the intel for that strike, there were several questions, such part of which was, so if we had all that intel, why do you think we didn't carry out the strike ourselves?
Nigeria may have Nigeria may have authenticated the intelligence because they had human asset on ground. You know, prior to that strike, there were publications that came up to say that the U.S. were already gathering over the horizon intelligence. They were flying some surveillance and reconnaissance aircraft around the area to gather intel. So when you get this kind of intel from over the horizon and you have asset on ground, you have to deploy that asset on ground to go and authenticate the intel that you gathered from the sky to make sure that they are consistent. If it's consistent, then you know that your intel is solid. Then you can strike. So what I am thinking, based on my own experience, is that the U.S. may have gathered intel over the horizon, and then Nigeria might have used on-the-ground human asset to authenticate the intelligence that the U.S. had gathered. And that's what I see as that collaboration.
No. What I'm saying is, because when we asked the minister, he said Nigeria gave this U.S. the intel with which they attacked in Sokoto. And so people thought, so if we had that intel, why didn't we carry out the strike? Don't forget that the U.S. president has said, look, if we don't do something, then maybe he will come in and then strike. So we could have said, okay, if you have the satellite, enable, let's verify or double check whatever intel we have. After all, we have the Tucano jets, don't we? So what stopped us?
See, we have to weigh the political angle to all these things that is happening. You understand?
Politics.
You see, the Nigerian government too also had to demonstrate that, look, we are willing and we want to collaborate with you. And this is what we can do. Okay. I was on this network that I said, look, this Donald Trump comment provided Nigeria with opportunity to be able to cooperate even much deeper with the United States. Although we have been cooperating with them before this time. But this now availed us a much more opportunity. We shouldn't go to Washington, D.C. to argue with them. But we should rather go to Washington, D.C. and say, look, yes, we have a problem. We have insecurity problem. We have terrorism problem. Here are the things that we have done. These are our challenges. How can you come in and help us with these challenges? I am sure that Nigerian government had gone there and had this conversation with the U.S. government. And therefore, to prove to them that, look, we are open. We want to collaborate.
I know you've spoken about the politics. Does it make sense to you? I mean, you serve in the army. From that professional perspective,
yes.
Does it make sense to you that we have the intel, we have the Tucano jets, but we can't strike?
I don't think that they cannot strike, but I think...
We didn't.
But I think they wanted the U.S. to strike so that that collaboration, we manifest.
Well, I think it's also maybe because of the kind of narrative that was being pushed around at the time, as though the Nigerian government was complicit in the terrorism, in the killing of Christians.
But
so
they gave us opportunity to strike, or we come in and strike.
Yeah, so why didn't we do it before they came in?
If they had not allowed the U.S., if they had not collaborated with the U.S. and they strike on their own, maybe the U.S. may be doubting that, look, you didn't strike
the right place. So let them do it.
You didn't strike where you're supposed to strike, or you didn't strike effectively. So the best thing for them to let the U.S. let them off the hook of the U.S., or to get the U.S. off their back, is to let the U.S. go in there and do the striking by themselves.
But you also know...
There is always politics in these things.
So, speaking about the politics in this matter, we know there's no free lunch in the States. They can't expend all that taxpayers, U.S. taxpayers' money for free on Nigeria. There's something definitely that they will benefit from this.
Well, I don't know what agreement was discussed, but like you said, there is no free lunch. And I have told you how expensive... Look, each one of those Tomahawk missiles is about $1.3 million. That is the least. It has various variants. Depending on the variants that were used, it can get up to $1.8 million, right? And that Alibok class guided missile destroyer carries about 300 to 330 sailors. Those sailors are like babies. They're children. The government is responsible for everything about them, including the shit that they even shit inside that vessel. Okay, so it cost a lot of money for them to have undertaken that operation. So I don't know, it's possible, and this...
There could be mineral earth.
There could be. This President Trump, is a transactional president. He's a president that does not do anything that there is no benefit. So I will not be surprised that such conversations might have been had. However, I will support the U.S. to come into our mineral resources. It's been stolen. The Chinese are stealing this thing every day. And they are creating banditry and insecurity for us so as to divert our attention to the banditry and the insecurity while they are busy in connivance with
That's a
some
very
highly
strong
placed...
allegation.
It's not an allegation. It has been stated everywhere. It's been proven.
That has been stated doesn't make it true.
It is. It is. You see them being arrested. A couple of them have been arrested for illegal mining activities. And so what other evidence do we need? And they are creating insecurity for us, diverting our attention from our mineral resources with the banditry and the insecurity so that they will have a free way to exploit our mineral
so I'm trying
resources.
to understand the thinking process that you have. Okay, so let's assume that this, what you said, is being done. So the solution is for someone else to come and do it as well.
Well, someone who will come in with an agreement, a contract. Okay.
So this one has taken illegally. You want someone that does it with a deal.
No, when you have a situation where there is illicit activity, whether it's mining or bunkering, whatever it is, it always creates a lot of insecurity because there will be different war laws that we want to control one territory or the other. And that is what we are seeing in northern Nigeria. So if we have an agreement with the U.S. to come and mine these minerals and bring sanity to that area and end the insecurity that we are facing, will it not be better for us?
Assuming they will bring sanity.
There will be sanity.
Where has this happened and there was sanity? Let's look around the world. The places where these agreements were made with them. Has there been any sanity in those places?
There is sanity in Korea. A lot of people always cite Afghanistan, Libya, Syria. It depends on what the mission is. Let us not forget that it was the United States that liberated all of Europe, World War I, World War II. And there was this Marshall Plan that rebuilt Europe that we see today. Let us not forget about Korea, that it was the United States that
That's
liberated
different from
South
what we're
Korea.
talking about, though.
No, it's not different because people are only looking at Afghanistan, Iraq. It depends on your mission. People expect the United States to always go and carry out counter-insurgency operation in every country they go to. Counter-insurgency is different from counter-terrorism. The United States is not interested in counter-insurgency in some of these countries that you're talking about.
Many Nigerians do not agree with this. It's a very serious conversation going on online right now.
They don't understand the missions. They always interchange counter-terrorism with counter-insurgency.
It's a question of sovereignty. It's a question of Nigeria's sovereignty. So I'm going to ask you pointedly.
Yes.
Is there a danger that whatever deal has been cut in this matter, that our sovereignty may have been compromised in any way?
Your sovereignty cannot be compromised when the government said, look, we collaborated with these people to carry out this operation. The Minister of Defense said that the president gave his approval. If the president gave approval, it means that the U.S. had the permission of Nigeria to come out and carry out that operation. So the issue and the question of a sovereignty being violated shouldn't be there anymore because they didn't come in there forcefully. They came in on the permission of the Nigerian government. So, but let me, that's what I need to clarify.
Okay.
You see, when we went to Iraq and Afghanistan, we were not supposed to go in there for counter-insurgency. Counter-insurgency means you bring in a lot of resources, a lot of manpower. You build nations, right? Counter-terrorism is different. Counter-terrorism is you go there, you conduct intelligence operations, you identify where the terrorists are, and then you strike. You go back. You have very limited footprint. Your job is not to go there and start building nations and start conducting elections. No, that is not the job. So the U.S. didn't have a counter-insurgency operation in Libya. What they had was to go in and stop Muammar Gaddafi from going to Benghazi to wipe out the entire city of Benghazi because they were opposed to his government.
And then what happened afterwards? It's ideal.
The rest is history.
Exactly, because it's on paper. You're correct, on paper.
Because
but in the reality, it doesn't always play out that way.
Because the mission was not to go and build Libya.
That was to destroy it.
To destroy it.
To stop Muammar Gaddafi from going to Benghazi and wiping out the entire population of Benghazi. Their action and activities saved Benghazi. Benghazi would have been eliminated by Muammar Gaddafi.
How is Benghazi today?
It exists. Muammar Gaddafi was preparing to go into Benghazi to wipe out Benghazi. Because that was
it sounds like that is the U.S. military mindset in you speaking. Because we know they are not any better now.
At all.
As a matter of fact, they are not anyway better.
But I'll tell you, U.S. mission was not to go and build Libya.
Well, we saw the outcome.
Yes.
So whatever the mission was, the outcome is what everybody
the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
And this particular, the Nigerian case is different because the Nigerian government is collaborating with the United States. And so it's a collaborative effort.
About what you said, concerning China coming to this country, stealing and doing all of those things, can that actually even happen without the governments looking the other way?
Our government over the years has been ineffective. And this is one of the reasons why the United States had to even come in the first place. You listen to what Donald Trump said, that if you don't take care of your problem, we'll come and take care of the problem for you. If we had been taking care of our problems the way nations are supposed to take care of their problems, there will be no room for any foreigner to come here and exploit us. Well, because we have failed over the years. And I don't put the blame on this current administration. This is an administration that has only been in office for 2 years. I can tell you that Goodluck Jonathan's administration was a catastrophic disaster,
well,
security-wise. So I can also tell you that Muhammadu Buhari's administration was also a disastrous catastrophe,
we're living right
security-wise.
Now. So the thing about that is this. So rather than say, oh, no, let the U.S. come in and then they will bring this, why don't you just focus on this government, do what you have to do. If they are stealing our resources, go ahead and stop them. Not for us to invite another country to come in when we can stop this thing from happening.
We need cooperation from our strategic
Before
partners.
the cooperation, what have we done to stop it in the first place? That's what we should be focusing on. We should be talking about us doing something.
Maybe you may have to bring in the Minister of Mineral Resources, to
come and
explain to you.
Of course they will explain, but I mean, I'm saying, you saying, look, why don't US come in rather than China come in? When we can afford to say, okay, you know what? We have rules, we have laws here. Whoever is stealing, you can't do it here. How about that, first and foremost?
That is my preference as an individual. I am not speaking for the government of Nigeria. They may have a different intention, but this is my preference. I prefer a situation where there is orderliness in our mining sector as compared to what we have now, where criminals are illicitly mining our minerals and creating an insecurity upheaval for us that we have to contend with. Anywhere you have illicit mining of anything, the next thing that follows is insecurity, upheaval. And they are doing it in connivance with some highly placed people who are from this country.
And there's no guarantee that even if the U.S. comes in, that this won't continue. There's no telling. Nobody knows.
I have followed the U.S. When U.S. invest in a place, their companies come in there to stay. They will build infrastructure. They will hire people. They will patronize your local economy. That is not what we are seeing there. I don't know if you know about Halliburton, when Halliburton was in Port Harcourt. I don't know if you know about Webros. I don't know if you know about Chevron.
In terms of the allegations against former President Vice VP Dick Cheney, those allegations, the corruption allegations?
That's an isolated incident.
Why is it isolated? Didn't it happen?
No, there's corruption everywhere.
Should we gloss over that?
That is one incident that is not sufficient to wipe out all of the things that Halliburton did in Nigeria. So what I'm telling you, anytime US invests, they bring in a lot of resources. In fact, if we allow US government and companies to come into our mining sector and invest, that will be huge.
Well, China is bringing resources too, aren't they?
Their citizens are coming here. They are being arrested all over the country, right, for mining this stuff.
It doesn't mean they're not bringing
the US, first and foremost, in the US, there's a law prohibiting people from conducting this kind of illicit activities. So you not only be prosecuted in Nigeria, you also be prosecuted in the US. I doubt that such law exists in China. I think the Chinese people are just like vulture, just like every other developing country where they just go and get whatever they want. No, they don't care about what means that.
Is that a U.S. bias against China speaking?
No, I don't have any. If they had come in here and they had invested like the way they're supposed to invest, if they had brought in their companies and their companies come in and pumping money, build infrastructure.
But their companies are here. They are doing things here.
A few of them are doing the right thing. Majority of their citizens that are in this country are either doing cybercrime. I saw the other one that EFCC busted about 100 and something of them in Lagos. You know, they're doing cybercrime here, they are doing mining there, all kinds of stories, you know, that we're not supposed to be hearing. We have to be very serious about this. This is why we are having insecurity in that area, is because of the activities of, I'm not trying to say that every Chinese that is in this country is doing that, but to the extent that some of them are being arrested for one crime or the other, it does not tell good on China. And this is the same...
That happens to different countries.
All kinds of
After all, some Nigerians are arrested in different countries, but we know that there are several good Nigerians everywhere.
How many British is arrested? How many Americans have been arrested?
Well, that's not going to how this country is where we are today because of those colonial activities. So if we begin to unfold that, That's a different conversation entirely. But the bottom line is,
I am telling
we
you
need to
about today.
stand
I'm
up
not
and
talking
fix
about
our problems.
colonialism that ended how many years ago?
You think it's ended?
We just celebrated our independence.
You think
from
that has ended?
colonialism. So are you saying that the independence that we celebrate is nonsense?
That is dependent, not independence. Because if
That
we
is
have
you.
our leaders travel to those
We
countries.
just recently celebrated our independence on October 1st. Are you saying that that independence we celebrated does not exist, that we are not independent?
Captain Bish, that independence is on paper. So if we begin to unfold certain things, you will know why our leaders travel to those countries.
I don't think the president of this country will accept this one that you're saying.
It doesn't matter what they accept or not. The views are the views. They can accept it. And I'm entitled to my opinion. People are entitled to their opinions. Fact is fact. Opinion is free. Facts are sacred, as they say. But well, thank you. I mean, you know what they say about the... Let me not go to the bullet angle. But thank you for coming on. Always a pleasure to have you on, Captain Bish Johnson.